everyone, and welcome to Network Roundtable, Softer Side of Business. We discuss different core values each week, and this week our core value that we're exploring is spirituality. I've been terrified of this just because it can be such a sensitive topic. However, where's the best place to talk about it other than the roundtable, where we have a roundtable discussion and everyone could just, feel free to be whoever they are and share what makes them them. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a great discussion, and we welcome you. And we have a fabulous panel today. Oh, sorry. That's my thing. Little glitch. Okay, we're back on track. Okay, going back to the panel. So our +1 superhero this week is McConochie, and we have his +1 sidekick, Carroll. And did I say that right? Is it Carroll or Carroll?
No, Carol's right. Thank you.
Yay! Okay, should have gotten that in the green room. The things that we learn when we do these things together. And our co-hosts are Gail Harris and Debra Oakland. And I'm going to go ahead and let everyone tell you a little bit about themselves. And I'll just go ahead and start. I'm a preacher's daughter, and my dad was a United Methodist minister, very liberal, got involved in ministry because he felt that that was where he could do the most good. And he was very civically minded, has the key to LA, is credited for helping stop the Watts riots. So I'm totally proud of my dad, and I just always loved that he was so inclusive and put together interfaith councils and interracial councils so that people could come together, kind of what we're doing today, and just share who they are, and so that there could be like more understanding. Because when there's more understanding, then you have more sympathy. That's kind of my background, where I come from. When I was 18, I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Since then, I've come back to my roots a bit. I definitely consider myself more spiritual than religious. All right, now let's go to Gail.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Kristen, and I'm really thrilled to be here with Debra Oakland, Jamie McConochie, and Megan Carroll. And so I am a writer by profession and an author, and my topic of passion that I love writing about more than anything else is spirituality, which is why I volunteered to co-host this show way back when we were signing up. It's really a topic that's close to my heart, and I'm very much looking forward to this discussion. And the other thing that I'll say is that something came up in the green room a couple of minutes ago about this conversation being inclusive and including everybody. And the one thing that I've learned about spirituality is that it's a very, very personal experience between you and your creator, or whatever you believe or don't believe. And I don't think anybody is here today to try and tell anybody else what they should believe or what the definition of spirituality should be for anybody else. I just sort of want to set the stage as one of the co-hosts, saying that we're all here to explore this topic together, and there certainly are not any rights or wrongs about spirituality at all, and I'm really here to share my heart and my mind, and I know that we all are. So let's get on with the show. Thank you.
You made a fantastic point in there that I think is so cool. Like, how can we define spirituality? So, like, every week we try to define our core value, but I think that this week it may not be quite as appropriate. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun to see where this goes. Okay, go ahead, Debra, please.
Hi, it's my honor to be here with all of you. I'm so excited to explore this subject. Since I've been a small child, I've been exploring spirituality. It's been my entire life. And my business is Living in Courage. I'm a writer. And I write about courage, I write about spirituality, I write about core values, basically. What we do in our life that affects our lives and the lives of others, and how we can improve on ourselves, our lives, our businesses, anything that we do in life is just, I mean, carry your exemplary qualities forward in life with you, and include that in your business, your personal life, your home life. I mean, that way you excel at everything that you do, and you grow, you expand, you become an example to others. And that's what I like to do, is be an example of what I talk about and what I teach, and just expand that out, because we're energy. And as we do this, it just grows. And it connects to other people, it connects to our businesses, it connects to our personal lives. And we meet people like all of you, and we get to discuss a subject like this, which Gail beautifully said, what you said about really non-judgmental. We all have our own path. There's no judgment on what anyone does. But it's wonderful to discuss it, because then we do open up new pathways in our brain, and we become more expansive as we travel this beautiful journey in our life. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Gail. This was an honor.
Okay, shall I go?
Yes, please. Thank you.
I'm a spiritual life coach. My business is life coaching interventions, and I have a background in psychology, and I spent 11 years as a Hindu monk in a multi-faith monastery, where I really kind of established my spirituality and my link with the divine. And like Debra, as you said, I've been interested in spirituality all my life, ever since I can remember, from a child. I've only been out in the world. I left the monastery just a few years ago, and I wanted to find a way to kind of implement what I learned in the monastery and apply it in the outside world in a practical way, and to help people in the process. So I found that opportunity through my business as a spiritual life coach. So my idea is to help people with my background in spirituality, help people apply and enhance their own personal spirituality, and apply it in their everyday life. So I love what both of you have said, Debra and Gail. A fantastic introduction to this topic. And I know, I'm just listening to what you guys have already said, I know I'm going to enjoy and love this conversation. So thanks very much for having me here.
Thank you so much. And now, Megan, please jump on in.
Okay, sure. It's lovely to be here. I have loved everything that I've heard, and like Jamie just said, it sounds like it's going to be a great conversation. It was very touching to hear you talk about your dad. When you first said you were a minister's daughter, I kind of expected a really dramatic story of a different nature, but it just, I heard it a couple of times, and it's one of my favorite words, and it's something I rarely hear, and I think it's the hallmark of somebody who's got truly, spiritual is kind of a funny word, but a very large heart, which is a divine state to me, and that is being inclusive. And it's, we're always defining and sort of sorting things out that way, and just creating these misunderstandings, and it's just that expansiveness. Somebody said that word, which is that's perfect, and the inclusiveness. It's almost like like the state of duality, where it's inclusive, but it's expansive as well. I was raised Catholic for part of my childhood, with the little white gloves and the little straw hat with a daisy on it, and I never got it. I didn't understand that world at all, and I felt like a real outsider. I had no sort of contact with the divine as a child. I was bewildered by this fantastic world, haunted by the fact that space never ended. I had existential angst at like 5. But I wasn't comforted by religion. It just didn't do anything for me. It didn't make any sense. But I knew there was something because the world was so fantastic, and so I was a bit of a seeker, and then I I stumbled into substance. That was a kind of way of like filtering the world. I was very sensitive, and I guess in my 20s I would never have described myself as a creative person ever. That was something that, I was very cerebral and I needed facts. And I was in a lot of emotional pain, and I just started writing because I can be verbal, but I would write really large words. And they ended up kind of becoming pictures, and I picked up a camera and started taking like kind of abstract images because I wasn't a very good photographer. But it just allowed me to start seeing the world a different way and expressing myself a different way. And while all of this was happening, I took a massage therapy class for a year. And that having to put other people first and having sort of really healing touch and all of that stuff. So I think the constellation of all these things kind of like pushed me into this way of living, and like the threads just started to weave together, and I started to kind of discover a God of my understanding, and people became as wonderful as the world, or as miraculous and interesting and magical and intriguing. And it was just became a real process of becoming curious about my world. And it was interesting because Jamie was talking about Katrina's roundtable discussion, and I think we talk about creativity, but we always end up talking about spirituality. And it seems to be the foundation of any kind of real evolution, and I think you probably run into it. It doesn't matter what the conversation is, but essentially you start getting into essence when you're getting to people's core. Like Christian said, we need to express who we are, and this is it's sort of just that ends up being what we are, is these expansive beings that are, the human potential is endless, and we're finally recognizing that. We're on the threshold of that. I think when you move into your spirituality, you're really entering the threshold of your human potential and others as well, and you get to share that with them.
That is really lovely. Thank you so much. Really cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Gail, I think. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. First of all, Megan, thank you so much. I never knew you. I just met you a couple of minutes ago, and I feel like, in a way I could almost cry. And I guess this is just really where what is spirituality anyway? Sometimes it's like there aren't even words. But I guess what I'm trying to convey is that, I feel like now I know your essence. It just, sometimes the particulars aren't even all important. It's just like you can just feel a person's essence. And I don't know, maybe that's why I am so spiritual, because and even that word sometimes just seems like a label. I'm spiritual. I just even hate saying that. But it's really more, I guess, my experience that I just want to share right now, listening to you, Megan, and just everybody that came before. I just really feel right now where I'm in a very sacred space with all of you. It's like, just sometimes there aren't words. It's just like there's this oneness. I guess for me, my spirituality is, I really can experience that oneness that we all share, and that the separation breaks down. The separation is really just, we have to do that to survive, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. We have to get on in the world. But when that, when we can let those down and really just feel that we're all connected and we're part of each other, and there's that oneness, for me, like, that's what does it. You know what I mean? Like, for me, like the trinkets that we can achieve in life and socioeconomic status, we need to survive and everything, but to me, that pales to the, just to the fullness or the fulfillment that I feel within when I feel so connected. with all of you. So thank you so much. I may be rambling right now, but I just wanted to share that. So Jamie, so Debra and I actually had a bunch of questions that we came up with, and in the spirit of this show, I'm going to start with a new one, something that's not on the list. And so Jamie, I was actually really interested. You know, I've known you for several months now, and I really do feel like you're one of the most spiritual people I know, and certainly on Google+. And I've always been so intrigued about your time in the monastery, you know, what it was like for you. And so based on what you were sharing before, I would just love if you could share maybe just like a kernel of, if you can do this, but like what would you say was the core or the essence, or what did you take with you from the monastery and bring it out now to offer that to other people in the world through your business? Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, it's definitely not easy to answer that in one word. I really did bring a lot of stuff from the monastery out into the world. I mean, I learned an awful lot. I guess if I could try and narrow it down to sort of one main important thing, I think it's the realization, and this has already been said actually in today's conversation, the realization that every single person has a spiritual essence within them, and there's different vocabulary to describe that, and that's why spirituality is so personal and so individual, because everybody relates to their spiritual essence in different individual ways. And you can call it God, you can call it divinity, you can call it the universe, you call it the soul or the spirit. There are different ways to describe it, but everybody has that. And I think when you recognize and understand that and connect with that within yourself, you open yourself up to a kind of a source of potential and strength, which is incredibly immense and vast and powerful. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people who are struggling with their lives, with their business, and they're kind of struggling to kind of connect and discover that essence, and they haven't quite yet sort of found the way to do it. And everybody's on the path, and we're all at different points on the journey, so nobody's better or worse. But for sure, there are some things that people can do, I think, which can bring them closer to that essence, and they can discover it themselves within themselves. And when they do that, it's incredibly powerful, and it transforms their life and their business totally. So perhaps that is probably the one thing I could say to answer that question.
Thanks. So and I know each client is different, but you help them to connect to that which you were just speaking of. Is that what they usually come to you for? Do they know that? Maybe they don't even realize it in advance. Like, what do you think draws them to you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you made a good point there. People don't always realize that is what they need to do. I mean, a lot of my work is related to. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of an echo there. I don't know if everybody is on mute, just to reduce the echo there. But
yeah, I'm hearing that. Oh, now I'm having it too. Kristen, can we do anything?
How's that?
I was on mute, but I think maybe we might ask Debra to put on her headphones.
That's it.
Oh, there we go. Better.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Was that Debra's? That's fine. So yeah, I would say that you're absolutely right. People, the thing is, life coaching is that there's many different niches of life coaching. But in deep life coaching, when the client goes through the process of life coaching, in most cases, the client comes to a realization that they need to discover something spiritual about themselves. So whatever the coaching is, if it's career coaching or family coaching or whatever, usually the essence of the problem is related to being connected with your spirituality within yourself. And a lot of my work is connected with relationships as well, and discovering happiness and improving your relationships and stuff. And so when people kind of come to me kind of looking for help with those things, I mean, they know that I'm spiritual coach, but they're not exactly asking me, oh, I want to discover my spirituality. But in the process, they discover it, and they find out that that is really what is the key to all the other issues that's going on in their life.
That's great. Thanks. Debra, want to chime in?
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. There was a big truck going by, and I didn't realize I was not muted. I'm sorry. No, I love what you say about what you've learned, and both of us have been exploring spirituality throughout our lives. And when there is a sense of separation versus a oneness, when we begin judging each other and taking offense to other people's paths, because it's such a sacred space for all of us, and like this is a safe sacred space, like Gail was saying, it's a sacred space, and it feels safe, and it's about coming together, not pulling apart, and the God of your knowing is whatever works for you, and whatever brings you the most inner peace, and just this exquisite feeling of rightness, of beauty, of joy is perfect. And when you connect to that God of your knowing, it directs you, guides you. You end up at the right place at the right time. Everything flows beautifully in your life. It's magical, really. And once we allow ourselves to let go of the stress, whether it be in our personal life, our business life, our wherever we are, in our own body, mind, and spirit, it just becomes so much easier to navigate each day. And it's beautiful. And whatever that God of your knowing is, I always say, I don't care if you call it Bob, your higher self, your I am present, whatever you want to call it, Buddha, it doesn't matter. It's a name, and it's a sacred name for each of us, but it's the name that we create a comfort level with. So whatever name that is for you, it's probably pretty much the same for all of us.
So what about those times when things are not feeling so beautiful and perfect, and just that beautiful description? We've all had those times where nothing's going right, and, just we lose, when just life feels horrible. So what about those times?
Well, we're all presented with challenges. If we didn't have any challenges, we wouldn't grow. There's no expansion if we stay stagnant and still. And because of the challenges that I've gone through, which have been immense, I began writing and talking about and speaking about living in courage. And without those challenges, I wouldn't be who I am today. And they defined me. They brought me to a new level of awareness and understanding. And no matter how difficult they were, I managed to get through it because I did have a source of connection and power within to connect to. That is a powerful place to go when you're going through challenges. And also asking yourself, why is this in front of me? What can I learn from it? Instead of judging it and saying, oh, poor me, this is wrong, somebody did this to me. No. What did I do? What can I learn? How can I make this better? Not how can I react, how can I respond? Responding gives you time. And I always say, take 3 days to respond to something that's big and huge and could hurt other people. And when you are able to respond versus react, many times you'll find out a lesson that you needed to learn and are able to again, become more expansive and grow and help others. Because without those lessons, how are we going to help other people? How are we going to be living examples of what we're talking about if we're not actually living it ourselves? And then pay it forward. Share it with others. Tell them your story. It's going to make a difference in someone's life.
Thanks. So I was listening to what you were saying, and the word choice came up for me. That you know about having choices in our life. Do we have choices, and how does that relate to our spirituality? If it does in anything, I wanted to just open up the floor to either Megan or Jamie, if you wanted to respond to that, or just take it where you wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you said, Debra, because that's, you know, the important thing is being in touch with and in connection with your spirituality and your spiritual self. And as you said, Gail, about what happens when things are going terrible and disastrous in your life, and I just love what you said about that, Debra, and I totally agree that, you know, I think when you get on your spiritual path, so to speak, when you become more clear about who you are and where you're going spiritually, that doesn't exactly mean that life is suddenly easy and that everything's fine. You know, life is still the same. You still have exactly the same kind of issues and problems which are coming up. It's just that you're able to deal with it much better. You've got the strength and the resources to negotiate and navigate, and you change your perspective as well. You don't become the helpless victim. You become the empowered master of your ship. So it doesn't change the external circumstances, but it certainly makes life with less friction to get through those things. So yeah, I totally agree.
So then, this like really what I'm hearing is that it's like really helping with like internal affairs with like business office or people that you're working with, and that's huge, because how many great working relationships wind up breaking up because people don't use what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, maybe Megan, you can take that one.
Well, work relationships, any relationships, I mean, we want to navigate these things with as much grace as possible. And I think when we understand that every single action that somebody else takes, they have a reason to do it, whether it seems completely inappropriate or not, that it makes complete sense to them. And I think from that point, you can have a lot more compassion and be gentle in your interaction and try to navigate it a little better. But that kind of just comes back to challenges and simplifying. And I think life is hard. You know, terrible things happen in life, and that's just the cost of being in a physical body in a physical world where we have to make our way and keep ourselves, you know, sheltered, fed, and all of those things. And you know, it can cause conflict. It can cause conflict in yourself. I do know that when I go through a really difficult time, I have to not engage with it as much. I really have to preserve my energy, stay quiet, stay calm. I find that as much as I can have a very deep connection with a power greater than myself, I can lose that. And part of maintaining that connection is being in community with people who can witness me and keep me on the path, and remind me that at the end of all of this, it's going to make me a better human being, and it's going to allow me to be more compassionate towards others. And so when you see somebody else that's struggling, your heart expands. And when you're struggling and somebody sees you struggling and they have struggled and they know how much pain you're in, their heart expands toward you, and that's very healing. And the whole process, the symbiotic process of sharing these difficulties with these people that we love and have a an understanding of their own, which allows for your understanding and can include that. It's that inclusive thing again. It brings us all to the next level. So as much as I don't like pain, I don't like challenges, I resist, I deny, I'll do all of the normal human stuff that everybody does to avoid a situation that I really find painful. But invariably, in most cases, you're either going to have to confront it, or I don't want to say confront because that sounds confrontational, but to face it and allow it and navigate it with as much grace as you can, and have your bad moments. When I've had bad moments, sometimes what can bring me back is I mailed a letter the other day, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and I just felt a breeze, and I just stood outside my building, and I just stopped, and I could just feel it caressing my skin, and I was completely present, and I had no emotional pain, nothing. There was no lack, there was no thought, there was nothing. Like Deb said, she was talking about perfection. I was in an absolute state of perfection. It's transient, it comes and goes, but at least when it's gone, I know it's going to come back again, and I can be patient and take care of the business of living. And in my difficult relationships with other people, just recognize that if God's willing, that hopefully they'll have some kind of understanding and more compassion for other people along their way, that I don't necessarily know what's best for them, that I'm definitely, if there's a conflict, I'm definitely being perceived by that person as in the wrong, and they are entitled to that, and that is their reality. I don't have to try to convince them that actually I am right. And there may be a point where it's not possible to negotiate in that relationship anymore. It's time for you both to work with other people or do different things, and that's perfectly okay too, as long as there's some loving detachment.
Yeah, I love that. Loving detachment. One of the things that just, I don't know, phrase just kind of came to me as you were talking, like the courage to see, like when you're facing something. And I loved how you caught yourself from using the sort of more negative word, and then you reframed it. And how powerful is that when you can reframe things? It just like elevates vibration.
That's choice right there.
Yeah.
I think that choice is so powerful. I think it's for me, it's such an important part of embracing my spirituality, or I should really say embracing who I really am as a powerful person, and for me it really comes down to choice. We can sit there and play the victim, and that's always there for us. We could always choose A instead of B, and sometimes, just me personally, it's so easy to go there, it's so easy just to feel sorry for yourself and wallow in things, but finding that inner strength to say, okay, I have a choice. I can be that person and do that, or I can choose something else. I can choose to be powerful, truly powerful. And that's like a whole discussion. What does true power mean anyway? Because when I say that, I'm not really talking about control or manipulation, which is what I think we really learned in our society. That's what power is learning how to manipulate and control people. But, that's not real power. I mean, for me, real power, and I have tasted it time and again, but for me, the real power is really, dancing with the cosmos. It's like taking the most creative source of power, creation. You know what I mean? It's like taking creation and working with it and putting it behind you. It's like almost like having access to that creation power and making it, becoming part of that. And so choice, it really comes down to me that it's such a powerful aspect of claiming our power, our true power.
One of the things that you said earlier, Megan, you said duality, that there's like a duality. And as you were talking, Gail, just now, I was thinking about like the dichotomy of power and control, you know, like and choice and creativity. Like, and then I was thinking about like when a woman gives birth, like she's at her weakest and her strongest. And there is that beautiful duality right there. Thank you.
Jamie, Debra?
I had to unmute myself.
Sorry.
I was loving, Gail, that you said dancing with the universe. One of my quotes is, when the universe asks you to dance, say yes. And I put that in my book coming out. And I love that, dancing with the universe. And thinking about choice, because one of the first concepts in my books is conscious choice. I had it as decision and changed it recently to choice. And then I thought, we can all make choices. You go into a restaurant and you've got a million choices, but what decision are you going to make when the waitress walks up to the table? But I thought about choice, and I go, well, you know, we can make choices, but they don't always need to be good. So conscious choice has become something that I've really been contemplating lately. And I love the idea of conscious choice. If you would like to speak into that, Jamie and Megan, and just kind of expand on what that means for you.
Yeah, that's a great topic. I'm sorry, I've got the echo coming in there. That's it. It's gone now. Got it. Yeah, conscious choice. I mean, as I said at the beginning, my background, I was a Hindu monk in a multi-faith monastery. In the Hindu tradition, there's the concept of karma, which is, I'm sure a lot of people are aware of that. It's not just, it doesn't have to be a religious concept. In fact, it's more of a sort of a philosophical concept.
Can you explain it? Because I think there's a lot of misconception.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very big topic. It's kind of difficult to summarize it in a few words, but I'll try. The way I understand karma is basically cause and effect. So your actions have an effect or a consequence, and this is karma. So if you do or say something, there will be some kind of consequence of that, which will manifest at some point, at some time in your life. It may happen immediately, or it may happen in 10 years' time, or it may happen in 50 years' time. Or if you, like me, believe in reincarnation, the consequence may happen in another life, in another incarnation.
And it can be positive or negative. Is that right?
I personally, I don't use the words positive and negative because I think that's misleading. I think karma is just neutral. It's neither positive nor negative. I prefer to use the words light karma and heavy karma, because that means if karma is light, then your life is easier. If karma is heavy, then you have more challenges in life. So I don't think that challenges are negative. So I don't say negative karma. I say heavy and light karma.
Thank you.
But yeah, so basically, you know, answering the question about choice is, in every moment we have a choice about how we react, what decisions we make, what course of action we choose, what words we say to people. We have a choice in every single moment, and that choice will determine what kind of consequences you get. So in other words, it determines how you experience life, and that is basically karma. So to avoid the heavy karma, which can sometimes make your life more difficult, the idea is to try to be more conscious about what kind of the way you're living, about be conscious and mindful about what you say to people, how you say it, how you conduct yourself. And when you live your life in a very mindful way, then you kind of generate consequences which are much more beneficial to you and much more kind of easier to deal with, and which is light karma. So for me, the concept of choice is intricately connected with the concept of karma, and that for me basically is what karma is. I don't know if Kristen, do you want me to address this comment from? I'll just quickly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Also, I just wanted to pull this one up too, and I just did a quick little Google search, so I think that you might know the term. Do you know that one?
recisive. That's a new one to me.
Okay. Okay. Well, it says meaning for word recisive is not available, but but let's see. Okay, Peter, we might need a little help here.
we need some help there, Peter. What is recisive?
Oh yeah, and then I clicked another link, and then I get no definition. So we need your help, Peter. Okay, now go ahead and grab the other one if you want.
So I have a question actually to address one of the things that you said, Jamie. You said, and so if we act more mindful in our life, so how does somebody do that?
Yeah, well, that's a really important question, and this forms very much the basis of my work as a spiritual life coach, and it basically one of the most important things to cultivate a more mindful way of life is to have some kind of spiritual practice, to have some kind of connection with yourself. You know, that can take any form. You know, that could be anything, whatever works for you. You know, maybe that's meditation, or maybe it's yoga, maybe it's prayer, or maybe it's tree hugging. I don't know, whatever works for you. When you have a regular spiritual practice and every day you connect with yourself at a spiritual level, your ability or your capacity for mindfulness naturally blossoms, and it becomes stronger. So it's a question of centering yourself in the present moment and connecting with your spirituality and being aware of yourself and being aware of what you're saying and what you're doing, and understanding that your actions have consequences. And in fact, we learn from our mistakes in this process. You know, when we suffer in life, we can look back and see the connections, and we can see how that was connected to things that we did or said. And that way you learn to be more mindful about the kind of choices you make. But I do think the essential thing is to have this daily connection with yourself at a spiritual level, whatever form that takes for you. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter. It's an individual thing.
This is a question that anybody can answer, but based also just when we were talking about connecting in with oneself, you know, and having communing with oneself and being more mindful in terms of our choices. So for you personally, does that experience of being mindful with yourself, does that include your relationship with a higher power or a higher being? Like for you, Jamie, and anybody, please chime in, because it is a personal thing. But is that one and the same thing? Communing with yourself, is that inherent in that for you, Jamie? Does that mean communing with a higher power? Are you part of that higher power? I'm just trying to get at that, you know, is like spirituality inherent in that for you or for anybody? Does that encompass being part of a greater power or connected to a greater power? Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think I'd like to say something about that. I mean, unless you specifically want Jamie to address something.
No, please.
Go for it.
Of conscious decisions is, I mean, for me, it's about checking your motives, because we can live in perpetual reaction, and that's not conscious living. It's not mindful. We are reacting to life, and we're trying to get an outcome, and we're not even conscious that we're doing it. So I think, you know, getting to, again, you're just getting back to like this simplicity, back to the core, and being really clear about why you're doing this and why you're doing that and what outcome you might be seeking and why. And And I think it just always the whole experience of spirituality isn't that we so much seek spirituality, but we just seek to get away from the clutter of the mind, and we find ourselves in that expansive state that we can't define, so we use the word spirituality. I mean, we struggle to define it because it cannot be defined, but it's that state where we're not full of hidden agendas, even hidden from ourselves. We're not in a state of projecting all of our stuff out onto our world, trying to manipulate everyone. And I mean, I'm not even talking about people that are willfully trying to yield or wield power over other people and force outcomes, but even our most vulnerable little selves that really do have the best interest of most people at heart, we can easily be seduced into that state. It's the human condition. And I think when we're able to use some of these tools where we are really compassionate with ourselves and we're very clear and very honest with ourselves about what it is that we're doing and why, that's when we start to clear away some of the cacophony and the noisiness, and there's some purity and simplicity, and it flows a little better. It doesn't always flow. It's not always supposed to. We have to deal with our human condition. It's part of the process, and it keeps coming around. It's that spiral. Remember listening to somebody talk about an issue that they said, I thought I dealt with this. And she said, why is it here again? And I didn't have an opportunity to speak to her, and I thought, don't you know? It's because you can heal more deeply. You're going to another level of healing. That's why it's here again. But I got that from my higher power. I got that insight. So, but yeah, I think ultimately it's just getting very clear. And that would be conscious or mindful decision making for me.
That was great. That was so clear and precise. Thank you. Would anybody else care to comment on that question as well? Or
Yeah,
what you said?
I think, I mean, connected with what Megan just said, there's definitely the human condition and the human experience, I think, kind of attracts us away from our spiritual awareness, spiritual consciousness. We are kind of, we get involved and we're drawn into the nitty-gritty of everyday life and dealing with people and stuff, that we kind of get sucked away from our spiritual essence. And so to answer your question there, Gail, for me personally, I mean, I'm sure it's different for different people. It's a very individual thing. But for me, I can say that it's about a kind of a level of consciousness or awareness. And I sometimes use words such as God or divinity or divine mother, and I'm using those words to refer to the greater part of myself. But I recognize that that I'm normal every day is a kind of a personality, and it's a kind of a rather limited sort of human bundle of beliefs and feelings and stuff. But there's a real part of me, I would call it the real me, which is in a way God. I mean, I wouldn't like to say, oh, I am God, but in a way, that's what we are. We are all that divinity. We are all that spiritual essence. And it's a question of where your consciousness is. Most of the time, our consciousness, at least with me, most of the time, my consciousness is in my personality. So I can't call myself God. I'm me. But I'm aware of a deeper level of consciousness, which is God, which is who I really am. And I do have moments, and I'm sure most people can have these moments where you connect with that, and you really lose the identity of your personality, and you realize that God, all that exists is this divine consciousness, and we are just like, it's like the hand in the glove. This body and this bundle of emotions and thoughts and stuff is the glove. And inside that glove, there's a hand, and that hand is the consciousness of God projecting into individuality. And when you kind of take off that glove, you suddenly realize that you're not just a hand, you're just this kind of immensity of consciousness. that's the kind of way I describe it. It's kind of difficult to put it into words. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Oh, you did magnificently. I really, really appreciate what you said. I think you explained it so beautifully and clearly. Thank you. Thank you so much. Debra.
Unmute. Hi. I did want to go back to mindfulness for just a moment, because for mindfulness, we were talking about meditation, prayer, whatever it is that you do, walking in nature, walking along the beach, surfing. I mean, it's different for everyone what the mindfulness brings. But I also wanted to bring it back to the present, staying present in each moment, in now, as we always say, which I call our naturally occurring wonder, is where we can connect in such a powerful way, because each moment you're making a conscious choice. You're looking around, and you're every single thing that comes in front of you, people, places, things. If you can stay present, which is very difficult because we're easily sucked away from our essence and our alignment and our balance, and we get thrown off balance. Life can be really messy, as we're all saying, as Megan was saying, life can be messy. And when you can stay in the moment, fully aware and conscious, making the right choices and decisions, you stay connected to that source, whatever that source is for you, the God of your knowing, in a way that keeps you in much better alignment, and you can almost have that direction and that clarity coming through you that seems to be missing when you're off balance, when you're out of alignment. So I just wanted to bring that up, just that mindfulness again, about connecting that to the now moments that we live in.
So is that the glove, inside the glove that Jamie was talking about? When when you have that clearness and the awareness, is that what's in the glove? I don't know if you can relate to it, what Jamie was saying.
No, I can relate to it, but he could probably explain it better. I hadn't heard the glove thing before. I like it.
But when you were just talking about feeling that clarity and making the conscious choices, is it what's in the glove? Is that what's fueling you to make the conscious choices?
Well, it's who I am. It is my consciousness. It's who I am, and when there is a connection, a divine connection that I feel, and that keeps me in such beautiful alignment throughout the day. But when I get thrown off, say someone comes along and they start screaming and yelling, or they're pointing their finger at you, or they get angry. I was out somewhere last night, for example, and there was a girl next to us, and we were having a just nice little quiet glass of wine. She was hammered, totally drunk, loud and obnoxious, and her energy was pulling me out of my space. So I actually had to move away from that person and go collect myself and walk outside and just say, I'm not connected to that energy. I won't be around that right now. I need to just breathe, get myself back in my spot, my space, and walk back in, which is what I did.
And how powerful is that? Ooh, echo.
Mute me.
How powerful is that you had the ability to do that? With my background in domestic violence, that's something that I had to learn the hard way, that I can move away. And that is just so huge. So many people, and I know because I've been in shelters, one shelter after the other. I've spent my time in them. I know that there are many people who don't realize they have that ability. So thank you so much for sharing that. That is such a powerful example of what we can do when we're attuned.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I said no. I was just going to say that absolutely, Deborah. I mean, I really wanted to just kind of continue what you were saying, basically, because and as you said, Kristen, it's so powerful to be able to do that. It seems such a simple thing to do. Well, I mean, when you say it like that, Deborah, it just sounds so simple. Just step away, you know. But a lot of the time, as you said, in the moment, the energy of the other person, it distracts us and it knocks us off balance, and it's very hard to kind of step back into our balance and realize that we can do a simple thing such as stepping away. That's one of the reasons why I always recommend having a regular daily practice, because that helps you to stay online. And when these things do come up and they kind of shock you and sort of blow up in your face or whatever, if you've got a regular practice, you have much more capacity to be able to do what, as you were saying, what you just did. And I also really wanted to just stress how important, at least for me in spirituality, what you said about being in the present moment. I think being in the present moment is the absolute fundamental key to spirituality in any tradition, any religion, any spiritual practice. Being in the present moment is the basic fundamental element. It's when you're in the present moment, you have very little thought going on in your head. The only thoughts that are in your head are what is around you, you know, the smells, the sounds, the feelings. You don't have thoughts about the future or the past, or you don't have emotions about aggression or sadness, because those things are not really in the present. They're always connected with the past or the future. So when you're in the present, fully in the present moment, your thoughts are very quiet. And when your thoughts are quiet, that's when the light of your divinity and spiritual consciousness shines out, and that's when you're able to connect with it. So I'm so happy you mentioned that, because I do think that's so important in spirituality.
Peter has got a couple of really great comments. This one, what we sometimes forget is that spirit is highly connected to respiration, aka breathing, meaning every living creature has a spirit, and I just thought that really built on what you were saying, Jamie, just there, like, so beautifully. Thank you, Peter, for that. And then this other one, being able to deal with negative circumstances proactively is the real sign of spirituality. That's lovely. Another thing that I wanted to bring up was Michael Abbott. I'm going to pull his comment up, and if you can speak Russian, then that's wonderful. I put it through Google Translate, and it translates to, how interesting, shall welfare business compatible with the spiritual? Can it be you do not know that God is, that God's and Caesar. So like whatever is God's, and Caesar's, let it be Caesar's. And what kind of emotional comfort emotions have a passion. And that was totally sticking out to me with what you were talking about, Debra. Easy to manage, knowing human preferences for weakness and sickness. The human, there are temptations, whom so like indulge those who wish to, for real. Outstanding, and way of life, which a dream and dreams only. Way of life, I think, is a really, really good encapsulation of what we're talking about today. Thank you, Michael, for that.
That's a very profound, very deep comment there from, who was it, Michael Abbott?
Mm-hmm. That's what it translates over into.
Okay, I wouldn't know how to pronounce it in Russian, but
yeah.
Gosh, yeah, that's something that you really want to sort of sit and meditate on, those really nice comments. And I just wanted to quickly go back to the other comment that you put up before that from Peter
Hatherley.
I loved that, what you said, Peter, especially about the breath, the respiration. That again, that's another fundamental thing in spirituality, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. The spirit is connected to respiration, to breathing, totally. And that is, in fact, one of the ways which I ground myself and connect myself to my spirituality during my day. And I think a lot of people do that, just stop and breathe and just kind of become aware of your breath as you're breathing in and out. You become centered in the present moment, and your thoughts go quiet, and then you feel the light of the divine consciousness coming through your being. So definitely breath is very important. Nice one.
I was so scared of this conversation, and now I feel like I wish it wouldn't end. But we are coming on to an hour. I know we got started a little bit late. However, to try and keep to around an hour, let's go ahead and see if we can possibly try and wrap this up. Like, I don't even know how we could. Like, this seems impossible to me because the spirit goes on.
Well, I was just thinking maybe we could all just be quiet for a moment together.
How lovely. Would someone like to lead us in that?
Jamie?
Yeah, well, everybody can breathe, so let's just connect with your breath for a moment. I think that's the best way. Just take a deep breath in and just breathe it out. Just feel your breath as it comes in and out for a moment.
I just wanted to thank everybody for this amazing conversation today, and thank you to the people in the audience who have contributed. I just feel very peaceful now and really filled. It was like, Debra, you might have said it at the beginning, or somebody said it's like surrounding ourselves in good company is a big part of this. I lived in a yoga ashram for 2 years, and the guru said, well, he said a lot of things, but one of the things I always remembered, he said that company is stronger than willpower. I always thought, wow. So just thank you so much for the great company today.
Thank you.
Time for shameless self-promotion. Let's go ahead and go to the order of my screen. Debra, would you like to start us off?
Okay. I haven't done this before. Okay, so my website is livingincourageonline.com, and I talk about courage, and the 144 qualities of love are featured in my newsletter, my monthly newsletter, picking one subject each month, and I featured around one person per month. I featured Gail. She was so gracious to come in for Finding Zoe, and this month is Empathy with Bob Berg, who I am just a big fan of. So I have that. I have all my social media sites, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, everywhere as Debra Oakland. And then I have a book coming out in November. I have an ebook that goes along with my free newsletter per month. And then I have a big book coming out in November that I'm so excited to get out there, because it's a spiritual book, but it's a really different. So I'm excited to bring it out, because it has some elements I've never seen mixed with spirituality in a book. So I'm excited to present it.
What's it called, Debra?
The title is Change Your Movie, Change Your Life, 7 Real, R-E-E-L, Concepts for Courageous Change. And the first concept's conscious choice. And I have movie scripts throughout each of the concepts. This is what happens if you make this choice. This is what happens. Could be the outcome if you make this choice.
So it's like choose your own adventure.
Oh, it's so cool. I'm so excited. And there's so much more. And then there's an independent film at the end, and it's all about these concepts and how Mother Nature would handle them. It's all wrapped around Mother Nature and these concepts. But it's 6 concepts, and the 7th concept, which is rhythm, pulls all the other 6 together. So it's actually got a kind of a workbook type thing in it too. So it's really exciting. I can't wait.
Oh, wow. That sounds like really cool.
I know. I'm excited. Anyway,
that's what you were saying, like different.
Yeah.
Really different.
So enough about me. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Gail.
Well, thank you again. I really love this show today. So my website is gailharrisauthor.com, and I have a lot of writing on there. If anybody's interested in checking out my writing, I've got 2 books that I've published. The first one is a self-help that teaches you how to connect in with your intuition and trust it. And then my latest book, which just came out in the fall, Debra just mentioned it, Finding Zoe, is my co-author's memoir. And she's a former Miss Step America, and through her journey to self-acceptance, the book takes a look at issues that we could all relate to, such as finding our place in the world and fitting in, being judged and judging others and judging ourselves so harshly, and then moving past all that so that we could fulfill our dreams in life. And I also have my blog right on there, it's White Bread Wisdom, where I give short little clips or my thoughts on parenting, self-love, and intuition, and how those topics are all related, which is the juicy stuff. I love connecting with people on Twitter. My handle is @GailHarris_, and thank you once again.
Thank you. And I have to say that, like, there are people who have blogs, and then there are people who have blogs. You always have fresh thoughts. There's always something new, and I'm just absolutely amazed with how much you produce. Very fruitful. If you can give any credence to the expression, you shall know them by their fruits, you are definitely an author.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go with Megan next.
Yeah, I have to get used to that unmute thing too. I have also never done any shameless for self-promotion. I guess when I started making art, I sort of did it tentatively and a little self-consciously, and then I just started exploring and thought, you know, I'm just going to make what I feel compelled to make. And I always wanted to sort of bridge art with products so that people could actually have something, instead of just having to buy something that they're going to put on the wall, sort of blend it with a product so it's actually something functional and useful. So they don't feel bad about buying it if they want to, if they like it, you know, so they're attracted to something. It's like, well, you know, where am I going to put it? It's like, well, then you can just carry it around, or, you know, you can wear it or whatever it is. So I started working with mandalas, and I started working with chakra colors. So I did a whole series of chakra mandalas. I did headbands, bags, pendants, and then there's a bunch of canvases too. I started working with, you know, also with chakras, but I started putting watermarks of like the yin yang on them and stuff like that. And there's just story that goes with them. They all started with photographs of flowers, with the exception of the sacral chakra, which is actually a photograph of the Grand Canyon when I was there. It just had all those orange hues in it, and I was working with those. But so there's a lot of layers to the work that I do, and if anybody's interested in any of that, the store is The Beautiful Life at Etsy. So.
And you have an incredible Instagram account too. I was looking at that, and you have like a lot of followers, way more than what I'll ever have.
I'm not as active on there as I probably should be, but I'm always juggling a lot of different things. Yeah, it's
like the work that you do is like perfect for Instagram because it's so colorful.
Yes.
And it just draws you in. I was really impressed when I was looking at it.
Thank you.
All right, Jamie, you're up.
Yeah, so well, I've got my blog is lifecoachinginterventions.com. I blog regularly on topics to do with multi-faith spirituality, to do with happiness, relationships, and just general stuff like that. So if anyone's interested, you can go over there. Another thing, I've just come out with a podcast which I collaborated with Katrina Fancook. And we've just released the podcast. It's called Flirting with Enlightenment. And it's basically the two of us having conversations and exploring practical tips about spirituality and creativity and how the two meet together. So, and if anyone's interested to listen to that, you can find us on iTunes, or you can just go to the website flirtingwithenlightenment.com.
Wow. So I didn't realize when you were talking about that last week, I didn't realize that it was already out.
Well, actually, last week it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It's actually just this afternoon I got the notification that it's up on iTunes, so it's now official. Yeah.
Woo, how exciting! I'm gonna go ahead over there after this.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and say my usual. Lend one hand always. One hand up, one hand down, to bring everyone with you as you learn, and we'll create a kindness economy that will generate more love, more learning, and flirt with enlightenment. Thank you so much to everyone who's been here, and I know that Peter and I have had just amazing conversations, on the side, in preparation for this event. And I want to thank everyone who has really put their heart and their soul into this week, and go in peace. Thank you so much.